you're groomed to be this thing that you really weren't created to be. And then it becomes your identity. So if you go off of your identity, then it's like the worst thing in the world. So people can't understand, well, why don't you want to be a strong Black woman? And it's like, because that's not what I was created to be. That's what you said I was, but that's not who God says I am. Mm-hmm. He talks about that I find my strength in him, not that I'm already strong, because that's not how he created it.
Welcome to the Grief Bully Podcast. I am your host, J.Nicole. Thank you for joining our weekly discussion around grief, mental health, and your overall personal wellness. The Grief Bully Podcast will serve as a vehicle to help you navigate life's journey. Be sure to subscribe, review, and share the podcast with anyone in your life that you think it will help. Let's bully grief together. What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of Grief Bully Podcast. I am your host, J.Nicole. Guys, we are back in the building, rocking and rolling for another episode, and we're going to keep having these conversations, and I am not by myself today. I do have a very special guest, someone that I personally have known for a very long time. You may have seen her around, depending on where you are, but, I mean, does that matter? Because she is global. We got GIO in the building. What's up, GIO?
Hey.
Hey.
Thank you for having me. No, for real, because this is like podcast / therapy / a lot of things. So I'm grateful.
Listen, I'm happy to have you here. We talked about it before. Actually, it's probably been, with the pandemic, I'm like, man, it's really been 4 years since that. So we definitely been talking about it for a little bit.
For a long time.
Yeah, listen, Gio is a mover and shaker. So she's always like, I got this person that can come on, this person that can come on. I'm like, actually, I want you to come on. So I'm glad that you were willing to come in. And so just to kind of speed things up in terms of getting to the reason why I wanted you to come is just because I feel like a lot of us, especially people who are resilient, I would define you as resilient, like you don't really, again, this is on the outside looking in, that you don't let too many things like slow you down, stop you. Like even when you post about things that to me, obviously in terms of like grief, loss, just going through certain things, it's always got like a little bit of like a positive kind of spin and more of like an affirmation to it. And so when I hit you up like, hey, listen, like we're back having guests, I want to have you on the show. And you're like, cool, because this grief thing has been kind of crazy lately. And so what's been going on with you?
So I think I'm just now like dealing with the grief that I've been experiencing for two different reasons. So like my cousin died and he was like my right hand or whatever. And so I think the more that I like go through things and he's not there, where I always was able to just like, yo, come on, we going to go do this, or yo, we going to come go do that. And like, I don't have anybody to do it with me. And as that keeps like happening, it kind of was just like, oh my God, this sucks.
Yeah, that was, I won't say like more recently, but I remember seeing you like post about your cousin. Was that was within this year, right?
No, that was last year.
Last year? What?
Yeah, what was within like the 2020 year.
Yeah, within the year.
Yeah. So it's just been like, oh my God, like he was everything to me, like literally everything. Like if I needed something to, needed him to do something with work, like when I was having the concerts, he would go pass out the flyers with me. If I needed something done in the house, just everything. We had our routine, and it was just like a super, super major part of my life that I didn't realize until he just wasn't there. So now that I'm just having to like seek out support, when I always just had somebody that I could just call for like literally anything, even if I was like doing something crazy, like trying to go fight somebody, he was there. Like it didn't even matter, like whatever, come on, get in the car, like we out type of thing. So the fact that I have to now like go seek out support, it kind of is like sinking in now.
Yeah, so, definitely. No, thanks for sharing that, because I think a lot of people are going to relate to that, is that it's kind of like that. Not that we intentionally take people for granted, because I don't think that's ever really the intention, but it's like you don't really know.
You don't
right?
appreciate it until he's gone. Yeah. Like the fact that like if I just needed something, I'm like, Reggie, can you go to the store? And the fact that I have to go to the store on my own is like crazy. Yeah. And it's like, of course I can go to the store on my own, but just the fact, like I just was just so used to him just doing everything. And it's just, it's hard.
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking, was it like an unexpected? I mean, I guess most loss, regardless, even if you kind of can see things down the road, it still feels unexpected. Like, was it something that you saw coming, or?
I mean, the crazy part about it is the week before we had a conversation about him, like if he wasn't there or whatever, and what I was supposed to do. And we just talked about a lot of things. And it was so crazy because that week we was like kind of like arguing and just like all this stuff. But we still had this conversation. But it was always something that was in the back of my mind because he just, he had like an addiction. And, it's just something that is just on the table whenever somebody is involved with stuff like that. But I never thought it would be then, like,
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. And I think something too that I want to just kind of touch on is that you talked about this person being your everything and all these things, your right hand, and then you also said that he had an addiction. Mm-hmm. This is a conversation that I had. One of my friends recently lost her dad, and one of the things that she said at his service was that a lot of people try to deter that relationship because it was like, hey, like he's on drugs, like he's unstable and all this and that, but then being able to like love an addict, and then you come to these moments where it's like, man, like I'm glad I did still love him. Was that ever like a problem, or you just
no? Because he came into my life in spurts or whatever. He actually lived with me back when I was a teenager, and then I didn't see him for a while, and then he showed up like at my boyfriend's bar one day, and then he came back into my life like after me not seeing him for like 10 years. So every single time he was in my life, he was the person. You know what I'm saying? So I could never, it didn't matter what he was involved in. I would never deter or take anything away from him because of his issue. So.
Yeah, no, that's big to definitely do that. And so obviously, like, sharing these things is not always easy. Really, if it really ever is easy, just from, again, knowing you for a while, but then just like seeing different posts, like you've lost a lot of people and different things like that. But it seems like, is this like one that is just shaking you up, or is it more the straw that broke the camel's back as far as?
No, this one shook me up because a lot of people that I lost, they were in my life. Like when I lost my brother, my god brother, that was major, and I went through a lot just because of the place we were in during the time. But again, he wasn't like somebody that was in my day-to-day, routine or whatever. So I think that this one was more impactful because he was in my day-to-day routine. So I think that's why, it's just changed me just in a lot of ways. And like, like you said, people kind of have like the outlook on it because he was an addict, that it takes the importance out of the loss or something like that. I don't know. Because I've had conversations with different family members. Some of them get it, but a lot of them just be like, I mean, what are you so, like, you know what I mean? So that's another thing that kind of like affects me because people don't understand how much it affected me. And I'm not a person that talks about it. So it's just like, whatever. And then that also opened up like my thought process on grief because I'm grieving a lot of things. And it's not necessarily death. Grief is really loss. So, it's just like I'm grieving a lot of things at one time. And his situation is connected to death, but there's a lot of loss, that, it's a lot.
Yeah, in terms of that, because I agree with you, and I always say that too. Like grief is deep sorrow and loss, and the things that we go through. And you can grieve relationships, the living, people, certain things. Like, do you want to talk about any of those things, or?
Well, right now, I'm dealing with a lot of grief, like with my mom, because my mom has Parkinson's, and Parkinson's changes you. So the idea that I'm not getting this person back that I've had my whole entire life is very, very, very tough because it's like I'm looking at this person and they look like the person, but their mind is not wired the same anymore because of the disease. So that's definitely like in these last couple months, it's been kicking my behind for sure. And that's what I learned. Like, oh my God, I feel just as bad, but she's still here though. You know what I mean? So that's also like something that I've just been learning because a lot of people, when they say, oh, you're going through grief, they automatically think death, and that's not necessarily it. So
yeah, no, that's a real thing. Actually, I was talking to somebody about that. I talked about it in the last episode too. Like one of my friends is also going through something with his mom, and she's still alive, but it's just like sometimes that could feel like almost worse because it's like you gotta see it.
And you just be like, what the heck? And you can't do anything. like you can't necessarily do anything. So right now, this last month, what I've been going through with my mom has been like detrimental to my mental. So I just been trying to just like stabilize because again, she's a part of the support system. So for her not to be 100% and not even thinking the same way, because a lot of times her thoughts and the way that she thought and the things that she could say to me to encourage me was a major part of a lot of the things that I was able to accomplish. So the fact that she's not even in that space and sometimes doesn't even care, you know what I mean? Like now it's just like her mind is just wired different, and it's not, it doesn't make her a bad person or whatever. It's the disease or whatever. So I just had to like really accept that. And I'm just like in the transition of my acceptance. So
Yeah,
it's rough.
That's a lot. That's a lot, because it seems like what I hear is that you're going through the loss of your cousin, you're going through other different things too, and your mom, who would be your support system, is there. You're actually having to like support her and like be there, not support her, but like be there, care for her, and then accept like watching her change. Like that's a lot. And
really like just this whole last year is really just about me. You know, I think that people may look at me and just be like, oh my gosh, she can do this, she can do that. But, you know, I have strong parents that put me in the place mentally and position me to be able to do a lot of things that I've been able to do. So to have, you know, 50% of that out of the window is like really, really like, I'm just kind of accepting like this next phase in my life. I'm really going to have to be standing 10 toes down. Like, you know what I mean? Not saying that I haven't been, but, you know, it's just a different, you know, if you standing on a pillar and now you having a balance on one leg to stand on top of that pillar and still be able to accomplish all those things, that's a whole lot of more energy that you may not have prepared for. So
what emotion you think is kind of like challenging you the most? Do you think it's like fear? Do you think it's anger? As far as just like overall how you've been feeling?
I have no idea what it feels like. Yeah. I mean, I'm not like afraid, but I'm also like, I don't know. And I have been getting angry because it's just like I can't do anything. You know what I mean? Like my hands are kind of like tied. All I can do is just reciprocate any type of love or whatever the case may be. But it's hard when you're going through this process. Like you don't really got the energy to show no love, but you like, what the freak is going on? So it's a lot. It's exhausting. That could be probably the word. I'm exhausted, kind of.
But that's a good thing. But do you feel like you have space to be exhausted? I'm only asking that because I feel like you're a Black woman, and I feel like we always get the thing where it's like, you know, you're strong and you do this, and then and I'm guilty of just like holding that up. I don't always feel comfortable in vulnerability. Like I feel like it's like, as much as I talk openly about my feelings and where I'm at, it's just still sometimes like I'm not the person that's going to reach out to my friends and be like, hey, I'm really struggling right now. I feel like this. I have friends there that I could do that with, but I'm just more the person that likes to offer the advice. And when it comes to that, I had to just reach out to my therapist and be like, I feel like I'm unraveling. I'm kind of getting to the max, and I don't want to like explode, whichever way, whether that's just like a falling apart or not. Like, do you feel like you have that space?
No, because let me just say this. I feel like Black women are the most understood, because I think that culture has presented us as being that we have to be this certain thing. Like you never hear like the strong white woman or the strong Asian woman. It's always the strong Black woman. Yeah, so it's like you are groomed to be that. And that's not natural. That's not even how God designed us to be. You know what I'm saying? The woman was, it was wise and had wisdom and was, you know, soft and was caring and was nurturing. It had nothing to do with strength. So it's like you're groomed to be this thing that you really weren't created to be. And then it becomes your identity. So if you go off of your identity, then it's like the worst thing in the world. So people can't understand, well, why don't you want to be a strong Black woman? And it's like, because that's not what I was created to be. That's what you said I was, but that's not who God says I am. He talks about that I find my strength in him, not that I'm already strong, because that's not how he created it. You understand what I'm saying? So the strength is always designed for something else. But again, not saying that we don't have to have a strength in us, but that the identity that I have to take on everything that somebody gives me. I have to deal with everything somebody wants me to deal with, and I have to deal with it in a way that doesn't affect the people around me. It's crazy.
That last part is real. That you have to deal with something in a way that doesn't affect other
the people around me. So if I'm dealing with something, it can't affect my children. It can't affect my mom. It can't affect my boyfriend. It can't, I have to deal with it all in this box because I'm a strong Black woman. That's crazy. But yet and still everybody else is whatever spills in over to our space. And we have to reciprocate and take what it is that we give what they give us, and give them something back that's better. And that's crazy. So those are the things that go through my mind.
Yeah, no, that's
when
real.
I'm like,
that's real.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I don't want to be a strong Black woman. I want to be GIO. Ooh. And if that day it doesn't, line up to whatever it is that you think that I am, then fine. But I had to also accept that too. Like, I'm not, I'm a superhero Monday through Wednesday. And if I'm not, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's okay. Like, I'm cool. And I had to really accept that. And I think that that's one of the things that this whole process has taught me. So I'm grateful. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot.
No, but listen, I think a lot of people are going to relate to that, and just even me, just listening to it, because, like I said, just especially how and if you're not following, make sure you follow her. But just seeing again, being a mover, shaker woman. Mm-hmm. I mean, you own a basketball team. Your book is She Is King, right? Mm-hmm. So just those things, it's yeah, that even though it's not what you necessarily wanted, but you moved in that identity. And so now when all of these things that make you powerless come about, has that, so you said you had to start to accept that. Does it feel good to just be I can't do this today?
I'm cool with not doing it. I'm cool with not meeting people's expectations. I'm cool with all of that. Because again, my goal has to be that I'm in line with what God says, not what other people say. And I think a lot of the times when you are in a certain position, you have to take in so many things that other people are saying and kind of try to appease in some form of way. Mm-hmm. Even if you are had the rebel mindset as I do, there's still some form of appeasing. There's still some form of living up to the standard or living up to, you know what I mean? So I'm done with that for this 2024. I'm done with that. I'm GIO, and that's cool. And if you're not feeling it, then fine. But I'm just learning how to navigate in a different type of space now. And yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Do you find it hard to find I want to say joy moments, but I've had people that I've talked to and they lost someone that was really impactful or certain like that, and it's kind of a guilt of still living your life because theirs stopped, as far as that goes, even with your mom, because her life is changing too.
No, I really don't feel that. I don't feel any guilt because I feel when my cousin was here, we had a ball. We really, really had a ball, and I've had some amazing times with my mom. It's just the guilt of me not necessarily being as informed or really knowing what to do or how to handle her situation. So even right now, my prayer is, God, show me how to love her in a way that she understands. Because what it is that I'm used to doing, it ain't doing nothing anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because her mind and her comprehension of things are different. So now that's what I'm just trying to focus on. So the guilt comes in that, and me not being able to, I guess, transition faster than as the thing is happening, because PD is very progressive. So it's a lot of things that change very, very quickly. So maybe the guilt of not me being able to keep up.
I don't know how your mom's capacity is as far as thinking and communicating with you, but has she done anything to make you feel like you're not moving fast enough, or
sure.
Oh, she
For
does.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, she goes in and out of anger spells and different things like that. So I may see a glimpse of her, but it's this new person. So a lot of the things that she says is very harsh, very whatever. But that's the part of I read on it, learn not to take it personal, because at first it was wearing me out. Mm-hmm. But I'm now starting to read and be more diligent with finding out what it is that I need to do, and that's a part of it. So I don't take it personal anymore. Mm-hmm. But I did. I definitely.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you human.
Yeah.
Those that's a lot, especially like it's your mom, and then like if you close or you cool, you have relationships, and then things are different. Like you're expected to change, like not expected, but I guess if you could change quickly with it, but that's a lot. Like be
Yeah,
easy on
it's
yourself.
not.
Obviously, you are,
I
because that's a
am.
lot of stuff that you're absolutely dealing with. When we talk about like mental health and just all of these things, like I feel like we've gotten more conversations around it lately in the last couple of years, but as far as like therapy, things like that, like how do you feel about that kind of stuff? Like do
I
you think
feel
it's
like therapy is truly necessary.
Mhm.
I think that therapy is necessary even if you're not going through something, because I'm a strong believer in wise counsel. You know what I'm saying? So I think that us as a culture, we need to be completely more open to it. And it's nothing wrong with getting a different perspective. I think that our culture, we're just so used to we're still just so close minded, I feel like. You know what I mean? And I think that there are so many ways to skin a cat. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we're just stuck in just this one way. But I think that therapy is vital for sure. I've been in therapy for many different things, several different times,
Yeah.
wanted and unwanted. And, it's truly like helpful, whether it's from a psychologist standpoint or even from like church. I've been in both, and it's helped me both times.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good because even on one of our other recent episodes with like Slice, he was talking about how he needs to go to therapy. He believes in all that, but he hasn't, and he just doesn't know like if he will. So I feel like sometimes that's an obstacle too, where we can recognize something could be good for us, but it's like it's just not. It's not the norm, or
Right.
it'd be too uncomfortable maybe to like jump into something else. And like with this show too, like I'm not a therapist, but I just like to have the conversations because again, I think you're, an entrepreneur, like a hustler, and when things like life just start really life and like not
Life
like
really be
yeah,
lifing.
like not like losing a contract, losing money or
No.
nothing like that, like real serious things,
Right.
like like you're losing who your mom was, like
And
that's
even when you say that, like even the value off of that, like that don't even mean anything to me anymore. Like you'd be so worried about the next thing and this and that or whatever the case may be, and I'm just so not worried about that. Like I ain't work since December because I'm just very keen on now. Like you just value time differently. Like you know what I mean. Like I'm just not putting myself in a position where it's not something that is suitable for me and not going to feed me and not going to, just reciprocate a different type of thing. The money part is a given, but it needs to be able to do something else because I feel like the time, money, the swipe of money and time, money is not enough. You know what I mean? To bring the value of time is so high that the money is not enough. So it needs to give me something more than just that. So that's just where I'm at with it.
now that's a lot because I think it's easy for us to say like time is the only thing that changes, or here today, gone tomorrow, all these things, like you just say it, but like when you really lose people or lose things or starting to lose parts of people, I really think that's when, for me, like when I lost my grandma, it was like, man, like anything can happen, like nothing
You're not
feels the
exempt from
same,
nothing.
like you're
Like
not,
it's
nope,
not like you're
nope.
not like you be on this whatever. You're not exempt. So knowing those things, it just you have to go about things just differently. I think that we just take so many things for granted.
Yeah.
Like we really just take so many things for granted, and it's just like I don't want to be in a place of that. Like I'm to the point where I'm like, God, I thank you for a hot shower. I thank you for the option of me being able to eat whatever I want every day. Like just getting myself to that level of gratitude, taking myself off this high horse or whatever the freak it is, because I just have to stay in a place of gratitude and real gratitude, not just, oh God, thank you, but really being grateful for every single thing. Like being grateful that the house is warm. Like it's so many people that don't, and we take that for granted, and it can switch at any given time. So I think that I'm just spending my time doing that because I was spending my time doing so many other things that doesn't necessarily value to anything. Because again, we're putting the value on money, and it's not. There's no value in that. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I'm like a Bible girl. So when God talks about riches and things like, you know, it's and blessings has nothing to do with money. When blessings is mentioned in the Bible, they're talking about all these other things. It doesn't have nothing to do with money. Not saying that money isn't a blessing, but you get what I'm saying.
No,
just being more like organic in the gratitude.
I get it. And that's true. No, that's true. And I think, you know, I'm interested to ask you, before coming and talking about everything that you're going through, like, did you realize the shift on like how much you've changed in terms of growth? Because sometimes when people are going through like really, really bad times or times that can feel really bad, it might be hard to see like how much, not positive, not saying because of this, then that, but while you're in it, like the ability to just change and be like, you know what? This actually feels better to be more in this gratitude, not chasing checks, not doing this, being in that, like even while you hurting.
I didn't even realize it like that because it may not have seemed easy. It seemed necessary. So I didn't even look at it as an easy thing. I was just looking at it like, you know, because when you all the way down and you are trying to like rebuild, you know, whatever, I feel like in the rebuilding, you can put there whatever it is that you want to put there. You don't have to put there the same thing that was there before everything started crashing down. So I just kind of just looked at it like that.
That's
like,
a bar. Like that. No.
Yeah. So that's just kind of how I looked at it. I'm already down. So let me just place the things there that I want to be there instead of the things that were there. Because, you know, you become whatever you become by different things. You know what I'm saying? Somebody could put this on you and that on you or, you know, whatever. And you build this tower of whatever. But when it comes crashing down, you now have the ability to put whatever it is that you want there. Because it's just you at the bottom, usually.
That's true.
So
that's another bar too, though. We ain't gonna go past that because you just said when you're at the bottom, it's usually you.
So now let me put organic gratitude there, not surface level gratitude. Let me put this there. You know what I'm saying? So that's just kind of just where I'm at with it, and I'm cool. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it.
No, that's good. Listen, just being able to look at things from a different perspective. I think sometimes, too, what you said is that when things start to fall apart, whether we're losing people or whatever is happening in our life, when we want to get back to a certain feeling, we're trying to rebuild, like you said, rebuild like how it was. But sometimes the rebuilding feels terrible because the people that you would normally rebuild or have in those scenarios is not there. Right. And that's just kind of whether they're alive and not there or they died or whatever the case is. And then I used to say this, and I want to know what this means to you, is I miss the part of me that died when you did.
What does that mean to me? I guess from what it is that I'm going through now, I don't know. I just ain't have a care in the world. I was a lot more carefree because I just knew what was going on. So that's kind of like, that's the part that I miss because it was just like what was going on, ain't matter. Like I said, we was going to go fight. Right. We was going to go. Yeah. I had a concert. I'm talking about. I needed to work. I had doing the nonprofit stuff, doing this, doing that. Didn't matter. I need the house painted. Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you make me pancakes? Can you? It didn't matter. Yeah. So it was a lot more carefree. The feeling of the carefreeness is what I miss. And I feel like I'm going to get back to that, but I ain't there yet. So, you know, and maybe just, the carefreeness. Yeah.
That's a real thing. That's a real thing. And just being able to look at that and see, and not always say things to try and make people sad, but I think like, I want people to realize that when you go through certain stuff, like parts of you, that it does change. It is not there. And I can relate. Like, I'm not really that carefree. I'm really like, once people started dying, I started I just started being more like wanting to be in a position of control and not be in a place of like, like I always share this, but like I stopped flying because it was like, oh no, I'm going to go on this plane, I want to die. If I just don't go on the plane, meanwhile, I can drive in my car and die or just die here, right? You know what I mean? But it just be like irrational thinking, just wanting to be, because those situations make you so powerless. Like, I can only imagine what you're going through as far as your mom and just like that whole thing, it's just that's a lot.
Right. It's a lot. I mean, my mom is a totally different situation, but my cousin, it just, I guess they're connected in some way because it's my support system. But
is he your cousin like on your mom's side or?
No, on my dad's side.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, on my dad's side. Yeah, he's on my dad's side. But he looked like my mom's family. It was weird, but
Gotcha.
Yeah, he was just a major part. Like he just was a major part in just like a lot of stuff. So that's where that's where it sucks.
Yeah. Do you feel like you'll see yourself eventually, like when you get on the other side of things, or feel a little bit better? Maybe just like doing things because of him. So like, or is that what's happening right now? Like you haven't given up. And stuff?
Yeah, because and this is crazy when I say this, but it's true. He's probably the only man in my family that ever reminded me who I was. Like, he's the only man. Like, every time he would see me, he would just be like, you know that you're a queen. You know that you this. You know that this and this and that and da-da-da-da. And he would always like, oh, in your book on page 31, you said da-da-da-da-da. Or, that. And it'd just be like, you care that much.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like that type of, that's a hard thing not to have when you are trying to accomplish the things that I'm trying to accomplish. So he was always just that, you know what I mean? So that's the part that is just like, that's the part that I'm like, I don't know. I hope that it'll be replaced in some form or fashion, you know what I'm saying? To have somebody care about you that much, to have somebody just at the highest level of just proud and just, he was so like ecstatic that I was like his cousin. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was so proud. Like, you know what I mean? When I went and cleaned out his space, like he had took like clippings of like different like magazines and like newspapers and my book. And like he had a picture of that like next to his where he slept. So it was just like, he was so proud, like, and he always reminded me the last like deep conversation, which was a week before, he was just like nailing me like never before. And mind you, we were arguing, like it just wasn't a good week because he was like, I felt like he was doing stupid stuff and just like whatever, but he was saying some things to me that I will hold on to like forever. And he was like, you need to leave, you're too big for here. You need to do this. You're this. You're that. This, that, this, that. If you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will, like all this stuff. And I'm just like, whatever. I just got in a car.
Yeah.
But that was him all the time. He would always be like, because he was very close to my boyfriend too. So that's also like another part too. Because he, it affected him too. So he lived with my boyfriend.
Yeah, that I think that's one of the biggest things, like you said, when somebody is a part of your every day and then like having to go. And did you find yourself after cleaning out any of his space or just being there like having different questions or like things, or like not like in a bad way, but just like that feeling of like, man, like wanting to talk to him about like, bro, you had all this stuff, like you was like this, like that's like, thank you. Like,
yeah, I kept like he had a lot of like prayer books that he had wrote stuff in. Like I have that. I have his Bible, but he was like a highly decorated like Marine. He just had all these things going on, and he just got caught up, in the streets and just different things like that. But he was a well accomplished person, so I'm super proud, of that. That before his demise or whatever, or before, his addiction caught up with him, because he was older. He was in his 60s or whatever. So, he was able to accomplish a lot of things. So I was proud of that. So I was able to look in, like, he had the Marine stuff in there. He had all types of stuff. Like, it was cool.
Yeah, that part can always be a little bit tough when you then, like, finding out stuff. One thing for my dad, he actually, I probably shouldn't say this, but he had a driver's license that it was his picture, but it was like somebody else. Like somebody else's information. And I was
that's
like,
lit.
Yeah. He was on that tight time, and I was just laughing. Like, it made me like, it didn't make me like sad. It made me like,
Oh,
Dang,
you
like,
was
this
lit.
really, this you was really
Yeah,
on
like,
some
this is
stuff.
a-
You know what I mean? I still have it. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, you
This
was
is
on some
a-
real fraudulent, just
Yeah.
out there. But it's typical, and you just can kind of look back and like have those little things. It's weird because like my brothers, like they didn't necessarily want as much like stuff. Like I think everybody.
No,
just
I
kinda
literally
different. You
took
wanted it? You
everything,
took it?
and then, his sisters ended up coming, and I had to like disperse most of the stuff to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I took everything from in the beginning or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I kept the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Listen, so definitely got to ask you this question before we go, because I'd like to ask everybody pretty much, if you had to choose a color for your grief, like what would it be and why?
Something bright. Something bright, because I hate bright.
Okay, so something
because
bright.
like black
Okay.
is my happy color, so it couldn't be anything dark. I love black and I love gray and I love like all of those colors, so it have to be like neon orange or like yellow or something like that would describe, yeah, which is crazy, but it couldn't be a color that I love, so
'Cause
it
you
have
don't
to be
love
the opposite.
Yeah, because some people say that grief is just measured by like how hard you loved or like how much you love. Like, how do you feel about that? I'm indifferent to that, so I don't know.
Grief is measured by
Like the amount of love you lost. So when you're saying that you don't like neon, you don't like those colors, and that would be reflective of your grief. But some people are like, well, your grief is because of how hard you loved, how hard you loved your cousin. So now this is why you have such a like.
Well, I
grief.
think that could be a part of it, but I also think that, like I said, grief, there's a lot of elements to it, because I feel like that you can grieve something that you probably never appreciated. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So, because I think a lot of us get in that position when something is gone, you get hit with these emotions that you never felt because you never appreciated or realized the impact because you took it for granted, or whatever the case may be. So I think it's a lot of it don't necessarily always have to do with love, but I think it's more so the impact, or I think the impact or something else may be first. I don't know. I'm just
but the way to think about that is that you can grieve something that you never appreciated.
Yeah.
I think that would challenge a lot of people, because I think a lot of times we think that we appreciate people or appreciate things or just like who they are or what they do or just our lives. Even if somebody get injured, like certain stuff, things it can just like change like everything for you. So, but you don't think like, I thank God that I can do this every day until you can't do it. And it's like, man, I can't drive, or I can't,
or you can't, whatever. And I even think like, I know a lot of people that were maybe had like a strained relationship with their parent or was adopted by somebody else. Mm-hmm. That parent dies and they go through all this stuff. You never had a connection with them. You never had a physical, well, you did have a physical connection, but you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. You didn't necessarily quote unquote love them, but then the second that they're not here anymore, then all of those other things come up, and now you're in a state of grief, involuntary grief. Mm. You understand what I'm saying? So do you think it's because we assume that, like in that scenario, that someone would assume that eventually they could foster a relationship with that person, or eventually like we just but also something that you don't really appreciate or even put a value on at the time, but I think we value it more when it's gone. And I think that's with anything. You lose your girl, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm, like you whatever. Oh, now she's the best in the world because she out at the door. So I think it's still that same type of, not necessarily understanding the value of the person. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I like the way you think. So even though I was going to try to, we was going to wrap it up with the grief question, I'm curious about this and your perspective on it. Since going through the certain losses and just even what you're going through with your mom, I'm saying not even like that's small, but I'm saying because she's still alive. Does it make you afraid to love harder with the people that are still here, or does it make you want to like put a little distance between it because the impact of how you feel now losing your cousin, like you might feel that way eventually, or it's like, no, I'm going to love y'all hard because I know one day this is not going to be how it's going to be.
No, it doesn't affect, because even when I look at, my cousin, he loved me to a level that I've never really experienced with anybody else. So it didn't really matter who I was. His love for me, he didn't love me because I loved him. You know what I'm saying? He loved me. So you know what I mean? Like, so it doesn't make me not want to love, because I feel like because of the things that he was willing to do for me, whether I was treating him like crap that day or whatever the case may be, are just as valuable in the loss as anything else. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's not affecting my love. It's just affecting my thought process on just the value of the time and just the gratitude part. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I'm not taking anything for granted. Like I just said to my boyfriend the other day, I said, because, I'm been at my mom's house, because whatever. I don't take for granted me laying in the bed with you and the baby. You know what I mean? That's the level of gratitude that I have, because it's just so much peace and calmness and us just being in the bed chilling. And, you know what I'm saying? Before, I wouldn't even care. Like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But now that I'm not doing that because I have to do this, mm-hmm. I bring the value on what it is that does for me and my mental and just, the calmness in my spirit or whatever. I don't take that for granted anymore. And that's something that's like small. We're just laying in the bed, chilling, watching TV or whatever. Yeah. But mm-hmm. that's something that I literally have put in a value on. Mm-hmm. Because that's just how my level of gratitude is just so organic right now in the loss.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because again, I think what this conversation calls out a lot of, like you said, surface. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, we proclaim all these things. Like, oh, I'm so grateful for this. He was like, oh, thank you, God. Because how many of us is guilty of like, oh, thank you, God. It's like, oh, thank you. But it's like, no, seriously, like somebody really can't go turn their water on. Like, that's not true. Like, I'm cold. Okay, I can't go, whatever. But then like to lay with your child and your boyfriend and be able to be like, yo, this actually like means more than... This
means more to me than anything right now, dealing with what it is that I'm dealing with right now.
But also to be able to be honest and say that at times you didn't see it that way. Not and because most people ain't gonna say that. It's gonna be like, oh, I enjoy every moment with my family. We just can be here.
You don't even care. Like, come on, most people don't even put a value on family time or anything, because they got too much. They're so worried about so many other things that they're trying to accomplish, and we can still do that. But I just feel like, the balance and just the surface level is off the table for me in anything that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because again, like, I'm just so grateful for the things that, even though I can't go talk to him, he left me so many things that I can hold on to, and that's like keeping me, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it just brings me down. Like, it just brings me down to a place of just super, super grounded. And that's just where I'm at. That's what it did for me. It just grounded me so much. Mm.
Yeah, listen, it's been a powerful conversation. And I thank you for just getting on the other side of like comfort or whatever, and just getting.
And I'm just so grateful I didn't cry, because I'm like such a crybaby. But I felt like, but I kind of felt like empowered a little bit, like just talking about, whatever. So I'm so grateful I wasn't crying, because it's like the ugly cry. So
listen, we would have been all right if you would have did that too. That's just kind of how we do things here, and having these impactful conversations. And just, before I used to think like, I don't know how much conversations will or won't change things if you don't necessarily like take action. But I think the gems that you shared, and just like sharing your heart and your light with us and what you were saying, is so much that you could just be like, yeah, like call yourself out, kind of like, okay, where are you really at in life? And like one day you're going to get to a point where it's going to be looking back, and was this important? That was more important. That's not important. And then I really agree. Like, a lot of things have changed too. It'd be like my daughter be crying, and I'm like, somebody wish their daughter was crying.
Yeah, man.
I be on that time. I be tired. I be like, but you know what?
But you know what? I prayed for this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure that there was a level of something that you put out there, to be able to have her. So it's like those type of things I cannot, like, oh my God, because I took so many things for granted. Mm-hmm. so many things for granted. And I am so grateful that I'm looking at it in a different way, because I just don't want to do that. When the day comes that my mom, goes to be with the Lord, I don't want to be in a place of regret. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be in a place of, I just don't. Because I kind of was there, like, with my cousin a little bit. Because I'm like, Dad, did he know how much I loved him? Did he know how much I appreciated him? Did he know, like, So
You don't think you know the answer?
I mean, I'm sure I know he did, but I'm just saying, like, did I do enough? Did I, you know what I mean? Like, that type of thing. So I just want to make sure, like, I'm just really focused on getting myself out of this thing that I feel, because, it's a grief thing that I'm going to be going through until, and then after.
Yeah.
But it's different ways. So I'm just trying to get myself to a place where I can cope and be all of those things while still dealing with the realities of what we're dealing with. So
it's a lot to juggle. It's a lot to balance. But listen, at least you're conscious of it and trying to do it now before you're like 60 and looking back like, dang, like, I wish I did this and this, That regret, man. I'm
grateful for some of the revelations that I have received in this last year at this age, and it not be, at 60 or 50 or whatever.
Listen, in fact, one of the last things I'll say too is my dad actually, when he was dying, it was the first time I ever experienced what people say, like, because most of the dreams and most of the goals or most of the whatever in regret or in cemeteries or wherever, you believe people are. And just like hearing him talk about like the things that he wished he did, it was like watching this in real time. Like, yo, he really wished that he did all of these things differently. Even the fact that he apologized to me for not being a good dad, like in that moment, I was like, bro, you had to be dying to say that, right? You know what I mean? But it was like, right, who knew? Like, he really feeling this in his heart, like really expressing that. And so again, when you faced with these circumstances,
which is also a level of grief.
Yeah.
That's also a level of grief, because he realized all the time he lost, and now it ain't nothing he can do about it.
Nothing. And on the other side of that, to put that on your children, it would be like, dang, like if you could have, maybe we could, you know what I mean? Right. And so it's like, so
that's the thing. Don't die in grief.
Don't
die in grief. That's what I'm leaving with.
Don't try to send me no invoice for you being on there or you being on here and sharing all this information with us. Man, you share so many like enlightening things. Like,
die in grief.
Do not die in grief. That is,
because death has enough grief of its own. So don't die in it. That's real.
Yeah, we gotta end it on that, because that'll make your head spin. Listen, it's been a great conversation. Make sure we know where people can follow you. You're doing a lot of amazing things.
Yeah, guys. Follow me at GIO Global on Instagram. I got a lot of things going on in the next, 3 months. So follow me. Keep up. Yeah.
Yeah, followers. Yeah, follower, supporter, like share some love.
Support me. Come to my events. Come to our games. Came to Monarchs. Follow the team page too.
Yeah, because I mean, how dope is that though? We didn't even get into all of the things that you have going on, because we did take a different direction.
And I'm cool with that.
Yeah, they can follow you and let you know. But she is the owner of a basketball team in Camden, so let's big shout out. CMD.
Yes, big shout out. We're coming back. Our launch game for this year, March the 16th, is at the Wells Fargo Center.
That's major.
It is. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. So go hard or go home.
Go hard or go home. We're going to definitely be supporting all that stuff like that. Make sure you follow. If you guys enjoyed the episode, drop some comments. Let us know. And we are usually in the live chat when the episodes come out, just to kind of communicate. And
yes, I'll be on there.
It's been a lot of dialogue going on. So definitely keep checking us out, following us. And if you're not following me, I don't know what the heck you're doing. Go do that over on Instagram at I_am_J.Nicole. Guys, so next time, you already know. Love and light. Peace.